Welcome to the data channel, and you're watching SQL Bootcamp for Data Professional. As part of the today's topic 8, so we'll be discussing SQL Complex Aggregate Functions with examples. So basically, yeah, there are aggregate functions. Basically, we'll be using count of, sum of, max, min. So that will come up with the group by clause basically. So you might be seen in the previous videos in the same playlist. But in that, so we will see the little complex variation of using the aggregate functions. So there are different use cases that comes up when your aggregate functions become complicated. So those kind of example we will see how these aggregate functions can solve the complex use cases, and you can make use of these aggregate functions to crack those kind of use cases where you have the real business time use case, right? So before proceeding, if you are new to this channel, we would recommend you to please subscribe and also press bell button for instant notifications. So let's get started. So as I was just saying, right? So as you can see here, we can think of many different complex aggregate functions use cases. Basically, you can see conditional aggregation using case statement, and aggregating unique values with using distinct. So distinct can also be used along with the aggregate functions, and multiple aggregations in a single query. So you can have multiple aggregation functions used in a single query. So using having with aggregate functions, and aggregate functions over a window function. So this is a window function is again one of the important topics. So we will bring up more detailed video in the upcoming videos when we are bringing up. But so here we will just see how this window function also comes handy when we are working with the complex aggregate function use cases. And there is an aggregate function with subqueries. You can use subqueries also when you're using aggregate function, and the other variation is filtering aggregates with a filter, right? So these are the different use cases that we will see. Okay, these are often used with the group by clause to perform calculations on a group of data. So complex aggregate functions go beyond simply just doing a sum or count. So we usually think aggregate function is just about taking a sum or taking a count by combining these functions, right? Or adding conditions for more detailed analysis. So that we will see. So with this in this particular video, so all of these cases we will jump to the practicals, and we will take example and understand this. So basically, during the practicals of to understand this, we will take two different tables. So we have two different tables with some data here, right? So let us see what exactly in the order table. So order table is having order ID, customer ID, product ID, order date, and what is the status of the order, right? And similarly, we will be having a so we have a order table and then sales table. So let us see what exactly this looks like. So order table is basically is having order ID, customer ID, product ID, and what is the order date and what is the current status of the order, right? And sales is having sale ID, store ID, customer ID, product ID, and sale date, and what is the sale amount, right? And so with this, we can think of multiple scenarios here. So let us start with a basic one, right? So like the basic aggregation can start with, maybe you can take example of for each store, whatever you have, right? For each store, what is the sale amount of per each store. So in this case, so what we need to do is select star from, let's take a sales, okay? But here we start applying the group by. So why we need a group by is we need to for each store ID, right? So we need to group it. So once you group them, so they logically group into one group, right? And whatever you are grouping by here, so that you need to give it in the select clause with like you want to take a sum of sales amount, right? So you can use aggregate function, right? So you can use aggregate function. So and in the aggregate function we will use sale amount, right? So let's try to execute this and see. as you can see, for each store, what is the sum of the sales that is happened, right? So that this is a simple aggregate function you can have. So similarly, you can use what is a count for each number of sales for each store, right? You can do a select of count of one, or you can see, right, count of one or count of star you can use. So store one has 16 sales, and this is a sum of those 16 sales that happened. Store one is having 13 sales, and the sum is to 23,600. The store three, similarly, this is a value, right? So this is a basic operation, right, of any aggregate function that you're using. But let's take an example of first case where we will talk about. Let's take example of condition aggregation using case statement. So this is our first use case that we'll be talking about. Here, basically, let's consider a scenario where you want to write a query to fetch how many orders each customer has based on the order status, right? So this is a query that you want to write, basically count of how many orders each customer has based on the order status, right? So one thing we need to understand here, so there is an order table, right? So let's take order table here. Select star from order table, right? So here we need to count how many orders per each customer. So each customer can have multiple orders, right? And has based on their order status. So not only that, so like getting how many orders per each customer is simple, but here there is a again a clause, right? Has based on the order status. So we need to, again, we are putting a condition based on the order status. Okay. So in this case, first thing for sure is we need to group by customer ID, right? We will have to group by customer ID, that is for sure, because we are for each customer we are talking about. Whatever for each comes, so that will go in the group by clause. Okay. And then you have a customer ID, so that you need definitely need to select whatever you are giving in the group by, so that you are giving in the select clause. Okay. And then if it is just about the customer, like say for example, you are having a how many orders, right? So just you can give here, so count of star. So count of star will give you the number of orders, because this is an order table, so there will be a number of orders per each customer, right? So this will give you that how many each customer, how many orders he is making. But here each customer, how many orders is making based on the order status. So there is order status also, right? Pending and completed. So based on those pending and completed, you need to give the status here. So in that case, so you need to use a case statement here, right? So aggregate functions will be there. So before aggregate function, you need to fetch based on the case, right? So you need to write a case statement, case one, order status equals to completed. Then you can give say one, and then else you can give zero, and then end the case statement. So let us see what exactly comes now. Case and okay, so it is asking there should be aggregate function, right? So then we need to make this as an aggregate statement. So now you can see, so these are completed orders, right? So just let's alias it as a completed orders. Similarly, I need to get the in progress orders or pending orders. So I will just give one more sum. Here I'll mention as pending is a one more status. So this case statement will return me 0 or 1, right? So if it is 0, that means there is no pending statement. If it is 1, there is number of pending statement. Based on that, it will sum it up how many total number of orders. So here I can give it as pending orders. Okay, so let us try now. So as you can see, this is what the expected output that we are expecting. So basically for customer 101, so there are 3 completed orders and 0 pending. For customer 102, there is 1 completed order and 1 pending order. Okay, so this is how basically the complex operations you can think about. And so the next one we will see, that is about aggregating unique values using a distinct function. So basically the scenario would be distinct with you can think of count the number of distinct products sold for each store. Let's take this exact example, right? So now what we need to do is basically let's take sales, because here we are talking about the like sales, right? Like how much is the sold items. Like let's take a sales as a table. So in this sales table, we are talking about a distinct number of products sold per each store. So that means we have a store ID, right? So that definitely we need to use a group by based on the store ID now. So once you've done a group by based on the store ID, so what we need to do in the select, first thing for sure is we need to use the store ID. But next on top of that, we need to count the number of distinct products. So if it is number of products, so it is just count of, we can give count of star or something, right? Count of 1. So that will give me the entire value required. Okay. So it is group by. So that would have given that. So for each store, how much number of the products that's been installed. But it's not just about the product, but it's about a distinct product. So then you need to make it as a distinct. And what is a product? So product means you can use it as a product ID so that you can get a distinct products. So previously it was store 1 is 16, store 2 is 13, store 3 is 13, but these were the repeated, these might be repeated products. But if you talk about the distinct products, let's see what is the answer. So it is just 777 distinct products. Okay, so this is the second example. And the third example we will take, that is multiple aggregations in a single query. Okay, and for this we will take a use case where we need to return the total, the average maximum sales amount per each store. So each store, again, each store means the store ID will remain same, sales table we are using, and even here it will be same, but the aggregation functions will change now, right? So aggregation function you need to use total, average, and maximum. So total is nothing but you are using a sum. Okay, sum, and here you just need to use the amount, right? Sales amount. Sales amount is sale amount here. Okay, so you can use total sales. Similarly, we can have for average and maximum, right? So for average it's AVG, for maximum it is MAX. Here you can give AVG, here you can give max sale, right? So this is simple as that. Okay, so basically you can use one or more aggregate functions. That's the intention to show here. Okay, the third example. So going to the fourth example, where we will take one example where we can use having with aggregate function. Okay, so group by, definitely it's a mandatory when you are using aggregate functions. Without that it is not possible to use, but having is an optional one. So now we will see where, in which scenario we need to use having. So having should be used when you're applying a filter condition on the group by result. Okay, so you are already using a group by, but you need to apply some filter on top of this, right? So that is where your having comes into picture. So let's take an example where you want to filter the products that are having more than 100 orders. Okay, so first of all, like we will be using the orders table, right? Select star from orders. So in this table, what we are expecting is filter products having more than 100 orders. First, we need to list down the products. Okay. First, we need to group by the product. Okay. And then we can apply filter on orders. Okay. Because the filter products that are having more than 100 orders. So order comes later, but first the aggregation should happen at the product level. Okay. So this is a product ID. So we need to group by product first, product ID, right? So because you are grouping by product ID, we will use select a product ID here. Okay. And then what we are saying is filter. So this is simple, right? So this is just now you can just count of what is the number of order ID. Okay. Or you can just use count of one. It's one and the same. Okay. So if you're just doing this, you will get for each product what are the number of orders. But you want to see which were the orders which are having order ID greater than 100. Okay. So now you will give which are having more than 100 orders, right? Basically, we don't have more than 100 orders here, so we will just take it as an example of more than 5 orders. Okay. So in that case, I can give having count of order ID, count of order ID greater than 5. So only those I want to list in that case, right? So let us see. As you can see, only that has been coming up. So you are using a combination of having here with along with the group by. So next we will take a fifth example, which is a window function will come into picture when you can still use the window function when you're aggregating the values. So window function allows you to kind of use aggregate functions without collapsing the result set, right? That providing a running total, moving averages, etc. So that is why. So let's take example where you want to like calculate the running total of sales for each customer order by sale date. Okay. So for this example, let's take this query. Okay, what exactly this means, and we will explain here, right? So here you can see like I'm not using any aggregate functions like group by here, but I'm using here, right? So I'm using a partition by, and so then I'm using sum here. So previously we were talking about using group by, so where we use a group by and then sum it up, or you use aggregate function. But aggregate function can also be used without group by, but in the case where you're using a partition by to have a running total. Let's execute this first. Okay. So what we are trying to see here is so for each customer ID, sale date, and sale amount, what we are exactly calculating is here we are calculating the running total. So here you can see partition by customer ID, order by sale date. Okay, as you can see, this is partition by customer ID. So this is one partition, this is second partition, right? So this is partition by customer ID. Okay, wherever the customer ID is repeating, so this will be in one bucket. So it is ordered by sale date. As you can see, this is the first sale date, second sale date, and third date sale date. It is in ascending order. Here also it is in ascending order, right? And then it is doing a sum of that on a it's a running total, right? Like previously it was 500, then it is 500. So because 500 plus 1500 came, so it will become 2000. So again 2000 plus 2000, it become 4000, right? So here it is only two records. So it is 12,000 is the running total, 12,000 for first record, and then 12,000 plus 900 is 2100. So basically this is a one, this can be a your interview question, or it can be any exam, or any any competition that you're working, you're participating. So these kind of questions might be certain tricky questions would be there. But if you kind of understand like when to use this kind of window functions along with the combination of the aggregate functions, so definitely it will be useful actually. Okay. So running total, keep in mind. So you can use you can use a window function. Window function is basically you can use a column over and then partition by and then order by. So here partition by and order by usually will be the date or some timestamp. Okay, and then what exactly you want to partition by is like usually the customer ID or any kind of a sale ID, anything like that. And then you can maybe have a sum or aggregated value on top of that. So this is how you can use it. So this is kind of a tricky when you're actually using it, right? So let's take a sixth example where aggregate with subqueries. Okay, so this is nothing but combining aggregate functions with subqueries, allowing you to perform more detailed aggregations. So let's take example where you will write a query which will ranks products by their total sales and select the top three only. Okay, so this will be again getting complex now, as you can see. But if you break it down and see, it would be simple. So you can just execute the inner part first and understand what exactly we are doing here. So again, we are here using a window function here, right? Where we are order by and like we are using a rank and window function, rank over order by and sales rank. Okay, and then it is giving the rank basically, as you can see. So for each product, what is the sale rank? Okay, so based on the total sales it is making, right? So then because now we are getting the product ID and it is sale rank basically, because we are using a rank function and then we are using a window function here to determine that the total sales that is made for each product. Okay, and then what you can basically do is you will use the inner query result in the outer query, and then you kind of apply where sale rank less than or equal to 3. So that means you're expecting the top three ones here as the output. You can get the top three product and their total sales. So this might get complicated, but the only option is you can just try practicing these and comment in the comment section if you have any questions, further questions on this. Okay. So the next example we will take where we want to take a sales summary with the conditional filters. Okay. So the filter allows basically you to apply different filters to individual aggregated function in the same query. Okay. Let's try to use filter how exactly it looks like. So this particular query, basically what we are trying to achieve is we want to take account of how many large and small orders each customer has placed by applying filters with the aggregations. Okay. So filtering basically, if you're seeing the count of how many large and small orders per each customer has placed by applying a filters within aggregation. So in that case, so I can see there's a customer ID. So what is the largest orders that he has placed? What is the smallest order he has placed, right? And similarly for each customer, it will give me the result. Okay, what is the smallest order and what is the largest orders that a particular person has placed each for each customers, right? So basically, these are the different variations that we can see with the aggregate functions. So that we have seen. So these are the basically the complex aggregation functions that we have seen with a detailed example. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the comment section. Thanks for watching.